필성. Hello, my name is Brennan. I'm from the United States. I am a Marine combat veteran who's fought twice in Afghanistan. Now I live in South Korea where I'm a professional MMA fighter.
Today, we're going to show you a memorial video for the U.S. veterans who fought in the Korean War.
That's amazing, yeah. So I think it would be nice to see. Wow, United Nations veterans. That would be something to see. I have to send that to my family as well, so that would be nice.
2020, Korea. We remember you.
Time out. Starting to get emotional. Time out. Oh, God. Okay. Just give me a moment. Okay, so we can play now. So.
Who gave us our present.
Crap, that almost got me. Because like those who know me know I'm very stoic, so like it takes a lot to get me but when I saw that veteran walking in Korea, God, that hit me hard. I was like, oh crap, no, not on camera. I'm not doing it. Because it's like, I don't know, it hits different whenever you went through it and you see like something of that and you can relate to that. You're like, man, I wonder how much pain he was actually in. You know, like, because not many people know much about pain. So like when you see something like that, especially from the real war, you know, like it hits different. It got really emotional at that part when I saw that, you know, because like some people are still walking, even their spirits are still walking through Korea. And I'm pretty sure all of them are really sad with how they see Korea now. Korea's gotten better, but sometimes the attitude is really bad in certain areas. So I think some of the veterans whose spirits are still here, that's still trapped here and they're walking through, a lot of them are probably pretty sad with seeing how the society is in a lot of areas. So that me thinking about that, plus that veteran and things is really emotional. The Korean War started with the southern invasion from the north. From North Korea. And during that time, there was a lot of poverty and a lot of things going on along with communism. Even though America can be a bully at times, we really hate communism more than anything. So when we were asked for assistance during that time, that's when we started recruiting men to go to war. And that's when the start of the era of my family going to war. The first man in my family on my dad's side that went to war was my grandfather, who fought in the Korean War as a private. And then my great uncle followed him after. And after that was two of my regular uncles. Not my great uncle is my grandfather's brother. And then my uncles are those who were my grandfather's kids or so like that. And then other uncles, my dad's brothers that went to the Korean War. And one of my uncles, he was in Vietnam, but the other uncles who were in Korea. And I talked to my dad's side of the family, from my grandfather until my uncles, who are all Marines. But other uncles who went to Vietnam was Army and et cetera and so forth. I thought I was the first generation Marine, but I just found out that I'm actually third generation Marine and third generation war veteran. So just knowing that I had a total of 3 members on my dad's side to fight in the Korean War, and on my mom's side, my great uncle, who was a captain in the Air Force, was in the Korean War as well, was stationed here. So I have a total of 4 Korean War veterans in my family. And you know, when you hear about that, like you think, oh, I fought in war, and then you see guys who went through the Korean War, especially in your family, you would think like, okay, I didn't really go through much, because you know, like the Korean War was one of the bloodiest wars in history. We thought Vietnam was bad. No, Korea was really, really bad. That was probably the only war of American wars in general where no one won, no one lost. We basically lost everyone. And we lost a lot of Marines. That was probably one of the only wars in Marine history where we lost a lot of Marines. A lot of Marines died during that time. And from that war actually is how Marines became to be hated in North Korea. North Korea, they hate Marines, I know for sure. They hate Marines with a passion, and rightfully so. We're some ruthless bastards. So and then now finding out that especially my grandfather, because he's my grandfather, you know? I found out that my grandfather fought in the Korean War, and then I think about the stuff I had to deal with when I came here to Korea. It doesn't really hurt, but then again, it doesn't really, it hurts, but then it doesn't hurt. But my grandfather made a very big sacrifice, and that war took a lot of toll on a lot of people. That's why I treat everyone very respectfully to that I can, because I don't know what their family did and I don't know what they did, you know? Like you have family members that, we could have like Koreans came and fought in Vietnam with America, you know? But there are Koreans who went and helped my uncle during the Vietnam War. Yeah, there were a lot of Koreans who helped during the Vietnam War, and there's a lot of debate from other sides saying that we should have been there, and then some people saying we shouldn't have been there. It doesn't matter. It still happened. Technically, the Korean War isn't over yet. I guess the term is an immediate ceasefire. It wasn't considered a truce. It was just immediate ceasefire because there was so much blood, so much carnage, so much savagery that happened to where they didn't see any side winning, because Marines were fighting hard. Korean Marines were fighting hard. U.S. Marines were fighting hard. North Korean military was fighting hard. Everyone was just like, someone was hitting someone, you know? So like, when you see so much savagery and so much blood going on, you're like, is it really worth it to continue this war? Because like you losing on both sides, you know what I mean? At this point, we're gonna wipe each other out. And that's how I figure out, just from Korean War alone, that's how I figure out how ruthless and savage the Korean warrior spirit can be. Like if there was that much blood we already know US Marines have a reputation for being bloody and ruthless, but that's how we found out how fierce Korean fighters are, you know, during this war. So the war's not over yet, it's immediate ceasefire. The war can kick off at any time. That's the crazy thing about it. It's not over yet. So pretty sure they survived because I mean, I'm here. So if I'm here, then that means my grandfather somehow made it home gracefully. But after the war, like veterans really wasn't treated graciously until later on in the years. So they weren't even treated well. Like they were treated as stage props and things like that. Being a Marine then versus being a Marine now is totally different. And that's why I feel more sad, because there's a lot of veterans that really didn't get the treatment that I'm getting now. If I go out and say, oh, I'm a Marine that's an expert in multiple weapons, I fought in war, I did this, they're like, oh my gosh, let me help you, overhelp. My grandfather, they never received that, you know? So when I see stuff, like see an older veteran especially from Korean War, I feel bad because I'm like, okay, I went through some stuff, but these guys went through some stuff, you know? Like how they were treated then wasn't even remotely close to how I'm being treated now. A lot of films came out, and a lot of documentaries came out from guys who fought in war, because people didn't know how serious war was and how serious war is. So like a guy come home from war, they think that they're with their little Bobby, but Bobby's still stuck in the war. Bobby's gone. People don't really understand that, and they thought when the guy come home and things like that, then he would be normal. Then there's no normality at all, you know. And when I came back home from war as well, my mother, no one didn't know how to really approach me, you know, and they still don't. So you know, there's a lot of things that my mom can't share with me about my family because they're afraid of how I would react. So that's just me, and this is Afghanistan. So you can imagine the Korean War, you know. These guys are really young, 16, 17, 18, who knew, you know? Really young guys joining the war, not knowing they're gonna come back, being paid very low money to go fight in the war, and in the cold at that. So they weren't treated even close to what I'm being treated now, which is, I feel like that a lot of people owe a lot of the veterans, Koreans and foreigners alike, their due respect and due benefits, if we're being honest. I feel like that, U.S. government is doing a little bit, not as much as I would like them to do. I feel like both governments should look after a lot of the veterans, you know, like even if the government isn't able to, especially the Korean government, if the Korean government isn't able to give Korean war veterans a lot of money or something like that, at least set them up with a nice house, give them a caretaker, let them be able to go out for walks in the park, let them be able to have a free meal at a restaurant of their choice or something. They built this country with their blood, you know? So like when I see something like that and I see these guys, Korean War veterans, it's just like still walking slow and they're still having injuries from the war and I see nothing being done about it. I don't know. It's just that, you know, these I don't know, now I think about it, these videos can do well and they're good, but then again, I mean, the videos, are the veterans really benefiting? But what do I know? I'm just some crazy war vet, so. Korea and America is the only country in history to have combining a dish together, and it's now a national, like, historic dish. Like, if I had to choose between eat any soup, I would eat Buddha Jjigae because it has so much history. Like, you just literally linked our countries together for life. That's a marriage. That's a marriage. I don't care what anyone says, that's a marriage. That's a wedding ring. I really think in my heart, there's no way South Korea and America will ever part ways on any bad note. These are our friends. We have history together. Like, we've been dating for this many years. So we're not gonna turn our back on Korea. And Korea love that and respect that. And that's, you know, that's the relationship that no one can, in the whole universe can compare. There's no other country relationship that is as strong as South Korea and America. Changed my mind. This video really hits home for me because having a grandfather that fought in the Korean War and having uncles and great uncles who fought in the Korean War, things like that. So sitting back and thinking about how not only tough my family is, but knowing that there are Koreans that he fought beside, that they fought beside, that were just as strong. I wish I had more knowledge of, you know, who they actually fought beside and names. That would be amazing to meet up with the families that was with my family. You know, that would be a really amazing thing. However, for those who fought, I don't know who had family members who fought in the Korean War, but I like to thank them as well because who knows, as they had guys that was just as strong as my grandfather to fight in the war and to make sure he get home. So I'm really grateful to you, the Korean civilization as well. So thank you guys very much.